Welcome to IT Pro TV. I'm your host, Don.
Coming at you live from San Francisco, California.
You're watching IT Pro TV.
All right, greetings everyone, and welcome back to another exciting episode of IT Pro TV. I'm your host, Daniel Lowry, and in today's episode, we are moving on with more in our A+ series, as we have always been, because that's what you've signed up for. You want to look at some A+, you want to know about A+, so you can pass that exam with confidence. And joining us back in the studio to help us gain such confidence, our good friend, Mr. Wes Bryan. Wes, we're glad to have you yet again, sir, and how's it going today?
Oh man, it's going great, and this is going to be an interesting topic when it comes to the objectives, because we've been learning a lot about software, and guess what? This has nothing to do with software. We've been learning a lot about hardware, and guess what? Second verse, same as the first. It has nothing to do about hardware. This is going to be more about communication and professionalism inside of the workplace. And you might say, well, wait a second, Wes. Wait. This is a technical exam, right? What's so technical about that? Well, believe it or not, this is something that a lot of the major Fortune 500 companies, a lot of the major companies that actually use CompTIA A+ as an endorsement, asked CompTIA many years ago to include inside of the training. And let me tell you why. All right, when it comes to communication and professionalism, a lot of people out there that are in IT are brilliant, very smart people. I know you guys and gals out there on the other side of the camera are smart people as well. One of the things that can happen is you can lose your ability to communicate with the people that you're helping. So they wanted to include that. They wanted to include that in a help desk or an IT situation and really give you, and require you to be aware of these things. So that's what we're going to be talking about in this episode. Keep in mind, it's going to be about communication and professionalism. And this is sometimes more the you might consider it like the bureaucratic stuff. Oh man, I want to learn about hard drives failing, how to repair them. I want to learn how to do this in the operating system. I want to learn about security. I want to learn about that wireless access point. Well, that's great. Please do, and learn a lot about it. But also understand that in learning that, you also have to understand how to talk to people when it comes to helping them, right? And that's what, again, these objectives, or if you will, topics are going to be focused on, right? So speaking of objectives, this is demonstrate proper communication techniques and professionalism. That is 5.4 here. And one of the first ones they talk about is proper language. All right, now, we're not going to put any radio edits here in the middle of this one. So when I say proper language, understand there are things that are obvious, right, that we just really don't hold up in the workplace and you shouldn't be using at the workplace, right? Profanity is one of them, and I don't know. They don't even really talk about profanity. So what do we mean with proper language? Well, if you have never been in an IT environment, you learn that one of the things that you will lose the ability to do is speak in comprehensible, complete sentences. We always speak in acronyms. The jargon, right? Oh, did you check out that SATA drive? Yeah, well, that's okay, no problem. It might be one of the old ESH boards, if you will, ATX board. You've got to worry about the CPU because it might not be getting any juice from the PSU.
Yeah, Wes, I'm not getting an IP address. I checked the DHCP server, but the door process doesn't seem to be going through. Maybe it's something to do with the IP configuration on the router.
Right.
The switch isn't configured correctly, right? If we start getting into these types of conversations with a customer, an end user, and they're like, whoa there, buddy.
And while he's saying that, I mean, that's actually something, I think it was you that was joking around about this. I was a couple months ago or something that said, I want to see how long we can go with a conversation that we don't say anything but acronyms. Yeah. I think it was you that had mentioned that, and it's surprising. When you record us, you don't have to try. That's usually how we talk anyways, and we just kind of don't realize about it. So you have to remember that jargon doesn't translate to the end user, right? Understand that the people that are calling you are probably already frustrated, all right? If it doesn't seem frustrating to you, right? I know with Dan and I, if I've got an operating system that's failed, I don't really care. I don't. I know that sounds, blah, 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 blah. I don't care.
I literally had that happen this week. And I was like, whatever.
Yeah, and we don't think about it because why? Well, Dan's going to download an ISO and reload the operating system. But you have to understand that people that are on the other side of that conversation, whether physically or on the phone, it's even worse on the phone because it's hard to translate emotion over the phone. And it's even worse if you're using jargon. So understand that people are already frustrated when it comes to talking to you to begin with, and then you add things like jargon, DHCP, IP addresses, acronyms, and they end up feeling stupid.
Yeah, that is the nail on the head right there. Is it really makes people feel like you're condescending to them if you start throwing out industry terms, acronyms. Yeah, it's our everyday speak, and you're so used to doing it that it can happen, but you have to be very careful because, like Wes said, they're probably already frustrated. Now they feel like you're being condescending to them, so now that anger level is starting to rise high, and you're just waiting for a problem. And then they're going to fire back at you, and you're going to feel that. And what's that going to do to you? That's going to get your ire up. And now you feel like being actually condescending, so you do. And what does this do? It's just a meat grinder, right? Everything starts getting worse and worse and worse. Next thing you know, they're wanting to speak to your supervisor, and you're like, yeah, I'm printing a resume.
Definitely, you know, and then they talk about things like jargon. I'm going to wipe the hard drive. Somebody's saying, well, why are you going to grab a cloth and wipe down the hard drive, right? We're talking about formatting it, but again, that's jargon that they're not aware of. Let me give you an example where that happens to me. Not on a daily basis, but definitely. I know Dan loves cars, loves engines, talks about engines. The person that sits next to me is one of our other hosts, Ronnie Wong, diesel mechanic. Knows engines inside and out. And you know what? Within one sentence of listening to these guys talk about engines, I'm lost. I don't know anything about engines. I couldn't fix a car to save my life, right? And if you've ever had that happen to you, right? So don't think just in IT. Think about a situation where you're listening to somebody talk, and all of a sudden, you're just kind of walked right out of the conversation.
Yeah, you're the odd man out. It does. You take that feeling, implant that into. That's how the person that calls your help desk line is feeling, because they know they have no idea why this is broken. If they did, they wouldn't call you. They'd fix it themselves. They rely on you. They're looking to you for help. So being very understanding and calm and uncondescending. Don't use jargony terms. And if you do need to, just explain them. Just walk them through that. Hey, I'm gonna, you're not getting DHCP. That's a fancy way of saying that this computer is not talking correctly on the network. Just keep it down, simple terms. That's not condescending to them. That's just you being explanatory, right? They are getting that. Oh, it's not talking correctly. I understand that. And do you know how to fix it? Yeah, it's something we should be able to get you through. Not a problem. And you're always encouraging them that you will solve their issue.
And that actually brings up another one of the objectives here. One of the bullet points is project confidence, right? They talk about maintaining a positive attitude, right? Projecting confidence. Yeah, I do know. All right. But be honest. That's the big thing. Be honest, because maybe you don't. Maybe you don't know, right? We'll talk about in another episode, we're going to talk about the troubleshooting theory, right? And one of the parts of the troubleshooting theory is escalation. That's why you have multiple tiers of help desk. That's why you have different levels. You have junior admins, senior admins, executive admins, right? You have CIOs, chief information officers, that are top of the run, right? Well, why are there different hierarchical levels within your division? Because there are different levels of understanding. There's different levels of education. When it comes to a complex routing topology, I'm not solving it. I'm taking it to Don Pizzette, one of our other hosts, that I'm convinced the man doesn't have DNA. He's got binary in his blood, right? Because that's his wheelhouse. So understand, maintain, confidence, project a positive attitude, but be willing to say, I'm not sure, but I can get somebody, I can help you find the answer you're looking for. And if I don't have that answer, I'll help you go find somebody that does. All right, so these are good things. And again, I know this it seems like it steers off the beaten path from IT, but you'll be surprised how much this can help you accelerate your career if you can implement these on a day-to-day basis.
Well, so I'm not sure if you mentioned, this is what they call soft skills.
Yes.
Right? That's the term, that's the buzzword, soft skills. Being able to talk with someone, engage with them, have them understand and make them feel secure in the fact that you are helping them and not just being, what's the guy on the Saturday thing?
Nick Burns.
Nick Burns, kind of a jerk because you have some sort of weird superiority complex. No one, I'm pretty sure you weren't, I know I wasn't, Wes wasn't, we weren't born with this knowledge. We acquired it because we found it interesting, and now we use it as a way to support our lives, right? That's all this is. No one is better or worse. They just don't know about technology. You do. If it came to actuarial, guess what? Completely ignorant of that topic. Not going to be able to help anybody out with that. And I have no problems with saying that. If you have a computer problem, come on over, and I can probably help you with that.
Yeah, you accept your limitations.
Yes.
And that's what you have to do. So definitely keep that in mind. Now, it's interesting. The next bullet point is very, very hard for a lot of us, including me. Don't ask my wife. Please don't ask her, because she'll tell you. And that's called actively listening. All right. Now, what do I mean? Let's throw the jokes off to the side for a second, all right? I want you to think about how you go through your day-to-day life and interactions, right? We as humans, right, our human nature is we want to be heard. Well, what do you want to be heard? Well, what does that mean? Well, we speak, we talk, we want to be listened to. We want to be heard. We're taught all of our lives how to speak, right? How to project our voices, how to give a presentation, how to collaborate, right? Very few people are ever taught how to listen. Military aside, and I know you're former military, Dan, there's difference. There are situations where you are taught to listen because your life depends on it. So
flip it to receive. That's
right. You know, so there are situations, all right. Our first responders out there, you know, our EMTs, our fire department, our law enforcement, we're not talking about any of you guys and gals out there, right? But a lot of times, if you think about it, that's what we are as humans taught, and that's what we want. We want to speak, and we want to be heard. But sometimes you have to actively listen, right? You have to step back. You have to do things like take notes, right? Oh yeah, okay. So Dan, you're telling me that you pushed the power on the front of your computer. You didn't see a light, or you did see a light. Oh, you did see a light. Well, let me write that down. You smelled something burning? Oh, well, let me go ahead and write that down. Actively listening. Right, doing things like asking the open-ended questions is part of good soft skills, like Dan says.
Play like Columbo, right?
Right.
Help me understand that you had a light, but you smelled the burning, and then what? Right? You're always asking questions. You're like an investigator, right? You're trying to figure out what the problem might be stemming from, and if you don't know the circumstances that are surrounding the problem, you're not going to be able to figure it out, right? It's just going to be too difficult. You need that person that deals with that computer on a day-to-day basis. Is this normal? Is this not normal? Does it typically do this? Yes or no? They're going to be able to answer those questions, so you have to open the ear to hear what they say, and they might even be telling you information and they don't even realize it, right? They're just telling you stuff about, well, you know, I was going over to Susie's desk and Susie didn't have this problem, but I noticed that me and 3 others did. Oh, so it's not everyone in the office is having this issue, but 3 of you are. What's unique about those 3 devices? Well, what's unique about the one that's not having the issue? See how you can start figuring out where, well, let's look at that one that's not having the problem. Maybe I can see that one little switch that's ticked off, and that's why they didn't have the issue. That's all. That's what it's all about.
It really is, you know, and it also gives your end user the ability to, you know, that, you know, they think that, hey, I am going to help, right? There's a problem here, but I can be a part of the solution if you give me a chance, right? So actively listening, right? I really bad wanted to interrupt Dan there and say, Dan, stop talking. No, just kidding, right? That's one of the things that they also call out. They say, don't interrupt your customers, right? Because they might be in the middle of telling you a point and you think they're going some way and they're actually going a different way, and you just cut them off in what the solution might be. Or if nothing else, you've just delayed getting to that answer.
Well, what do they know, Wes?
That's right.
Yeah.
You know?
Don't get that attitude. That's the wrong mindset. They might not know anything, but they do have information that you need. So just let them and just take it. Like I said, flip it to receive and let it come in. And then, all right, now let's start to work.
You got to be a transceiver, not a transmitter or just a receiver. You got to be a bit of both, right?
Yep.
So for sure. The other thing too is, you know, they talk about being culturally sensitive. And now here in the United States, we don't really have to go too far to understand that we're really a melting pot of a lot of different cultures. All right, and just because you don't understand a situation, you don't understand, you know, what something looks like, maybe how somebody acts. Be culturally sensitive, right? Keep that in mind. If there are professional titles that you have to use, maybe you don't use them on a daily basis, use them. All right, I know this goes to, and I'm not telling you guys by any means how to raise your kids, but I say yes ma'am and yes sir, and I say that to a lot of people that are younger than me. Why? Because I want them to know that I respect you. I may not know you. In the end, I might not even like you, but I respect you. And it's one of those things that I've always thought that if you come with respect, you'll get respect. But be culturally sensitive, right? Just because you don't understand the way somebody interacts with you doesn't mean that they're trying to be mean to you. I'll give you an example. I had a place that I worked with, right? And the wife and or the husband and wife, a beautiful family, absolutely great people. I overheard them talking on the phone to each other. I was convinced they were going to just duke it out. They were going to, at the end of that conversation, somebody's going to lose some teeth.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with that. It's just that's the way they spoke to each other. Hey, I'm vibrant about what I'm saying. But if you don't understand the culture, You can mistake that vibrancy for, being offensive, right? And what it wasn't even furthest from the truth, right? And if I had jumped in there and said, well, man, you're really mad at that person, right? How would they react what are you talking about? So you just understand that a lot of times our differences just come down to cultural differences when it comes, when you think about it. So definitely check that out. I don't want to stress that too much. Just understand, use appropriate titles. Sir, Mr., the third, CEO, however it works, right? Ma'am, if you will. Be on time. If you're 5 minutes early, you're 15 minutes late is what one of my bosses used to say. If you're 5 minutes early, you're already 15 minutes late. So now I'm not saying you have to be 15 minutes early to every single appointment you have, but be on time, right? Your time is money. Your customer's time is money. You don't start off a good foot if you're late. Now, that might be out of your control, though. You have to keep that in mind that your company might put you behind there, but at least explain that, right?
And my dad used to say the most valuable thing that I have is my time, right? Because I can never get it back. Once it's gone, and I don't know how much of it there is left in the jar. So if I've given it to you, I've given you a very valuable thing. So be very sensitive to people's time. If they say, hey, well, let's meet at 8 o'clock, by gum, be there at 8 o'clock and be ready. If they're late, they're late. They're just showing, and things do happen, right? Traffic happens. Oh, there was an accident on the eastbound, and we were backed up for 6 hours. I couldn't, but if you're constantly late, that's really what we're getting at. You're never on time. You're that person that says, well, we should tell them that we're going to be there 30 minutes earlier than we actually are. Then they'll be there at the right time. If you're that person, really think about how you're affecting other people, because it's showing a level of not, I won't say disrespect, but just you're not taking into account other people, right? And that they have things to do and that their time is valuable. So treat people's time as valuable as yours is, and just try to be on time to things.
And when it comes down to information systems, time is valuable.
Yeah, very valuable.
Very valuable. Any time that is lost when people don't have access to their information means that their company is losing productivity, which means they're losing money.
Your SLA will tell you exactly how much money you're losing.
Most definitely. That's a great question.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great response. What if your ISP, you lose internet access? Let's say your cable, your cable television, and you just paid for a prize fight, and now your cable is down. How valuable is your time then? You've got the entire neighborhood over, right? And again, I'm just kind of trying to put it into perspective, right? There are certain companies that lose millions of dollars an hour that they don't have access to their money. Or, well, I guess money, but their information. Well, I guess that could be to say if you're a bank, right? So those are some things to keep in mind, too. Now, some of the other things, too, is avoiding distractions, right? Personal calls. Hold on a second. So what was that? It was. Wait a second. Hold on. What did you say? That's very, very annoying. I cannot stand that. And again, that's a personal opinion, but I won't even do that to somebody that's a cashier at a grocery store. That's very rude. Now, there are times that there are emergencies. I do understand that, but you make that happen at aware.
Right. Those are
make
the
it aware.
exceptions.
Right. Exactly.
To the rule.
Exceptions. Like
not the rule.
I'll give you a classic example. I know that you've got kids. There was a point in time where I had to say, hey, I got to have my phone on me. My wife is about to give birth at any moment, right? So there are exceptions to the rules. Or I've got a child that's sick.
Right.
And I might have to get to them. But make them aware and say, I am so sorry for having to do this, right? Again, you're giving them the chance. You're not just randomly picking up a phone. Like I said, I can't even stand doing that to somebody that is a cashier at a supermarket that's courteous enough to be ringing my stuff up, and I'm like, yeah, hold on. I just can't do that. But that's the customer service in me. Texting, social media sites, right? The Facebook thing, put the phone down.
Right. You're not paying attention to people if you're dividing your attention between your phone and the person. I mean, we've all probably done it, and it's horrible, right? Or have had it done to us, most likely. That you're talking to somebody, you're engaged in a conversation, and there's like, oh yeah, oh that's horrible. Yep. It's very disengaging. It's like, why are we even having a conversation? I'll go talk to the tree stump. It'll give me just as much feedback as you are at this point. At least it's not ignoring me purposefully. It's an inanimate object.
Most definitely. And here's the one that's actually in the list that annoys me the worst. And again, you have to understand, I come from a restaurant management side. as well as I became a manager because I believe I was a decent employee, you know, so I also had this very early on. And we still have this today. If you think about it, you guys out there are the reasons we exist. You are the reason that I can do exactly what I can. You guys are the reasons that we can come and we can sit in front of big old fake PCBs. I think I just gave away the secret here. That, you know, fake circuit boards, right?
You mean that's not real?
That's right. So if you keep that in mind, that I cannot, and let me get to the point on this one, is that talking to coworkers while interacting with customers. In fact, it happened to me just yesterday, and it boils me, right? Somebody's ringing me up, and as they're taking in my receipts and they're bagging, they're sitting there talking to one of their other employees. Oh yeah, you know, yeah, she was talking about not even paying attention.
Right.
I don't consider myself better than anybody. I'm not putting myself on a pedestal. But if I'm paying your salary because I'm buying your product, you should have the courtesy to look at me, and it's the same thing you should treat the customers, that you are going to help fix their product, whatever it might be. All right, so again, this is not to beat anybody over the head with a ruler, right? But it is things that, first of all, are going to be on the exam, and second of all, they can make you very, very successful just in your daily interactions, and you'll be surprised how quick success comes when you start to use and implement some of these techniques. You know, they talk about dealing with, well, personal interruptions. I already mentioned that. All of that kind of comes into play. Make somebody aware, right? If there is an exception to the rule, make somebody aware that's going to happen. You know, I just have to tell you, before we get started in this, I might have to take this call. Yeah, it might have to happen. I might have to rush to the hospital because my wife is having our child, right? So there are exceptions to the rules. Dealing with a difficult customer or situation, all right? I have heard so many people say fight fire with fire. You know what real good employees do? They fight fire with water. You don't fight fire with fire. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. You fight fire
Metallica
with
disagrees.
Water. Well, that's okay. Metallica is the one exception.
That's
always
right.
exception
That's
to the
right. We'll allow
rules,
that, right?
You fight fire with water. Actually, you know who I heard say that? I got to
that?
give credit. LL Cool J.
Did he really?
He did. He said, LL Cool J says, real men fight fire with water. Basically,
It just makes sense.
try to stop the situation from getting any worse, right?
Don't let it
fight back.
escalate. Yeah.
There you go. Exactly. Don't fight back.
That's right.
All right? If somebody is, again, you're in a help desk situation, they're probably not, you are not the person that they really want to be talking to. They don't want to be talking to you at all, right? Baggage claim, right? That person has a horrible job, right? Because you're already, somebody's already mad when they get to you. So when you think you have it bad, trust me, I'm sure there's jobs out there that have it a lot worse. So again, I can't stress enough. Difficult situation or customer, try to defuse the situation. I know this is stressful on you. We're going to get you taken care of, right? We're going to help you out. We'll help you through this, right? What else, too? Avoid dismissing the customer's problems. Failed hard drive. Failed piece of software. Operating system won't boot. I told you, if an operating system doesn't boot, I couldn't care less. But if you've got a user that's got 15 years of digital photos on their computer and they no longer have access to them, that could be a very big issue. It can be just heartbreaking, all right, especially if it's their kids. So understand that everybody's situation is a little bit different, and do not just dismiss it because you have seen it 100 times. You might have seen it 100 times. You might know how to fix the situation, but to that person, it might be the very first time that they've seen it, and it might be something that they just don't know what they're going to do. All right, clarifying statements. All right, I've already talked about this, asking open-ended questions to narrow the scope of the problem, right? In fact, you also talked about this in the active listening part where you have 3 people. Oh, this is happening to Sally, it's happening to Bob, it's happening to, I don't know,
Julie.
All right, there we go, yes, right? Asking open-ended questions means don't close the conversation off by asking yes and no questions. You push power on the computer, did it come on? Yes. Well, that really didn't help me, right? Or no. What happened? Did you notice anything when you pushed the power? No. Well, you tried. But they could say, yeah, it flickered on a little bit, and I smelled smoke. Well, now I've got a little bit more information, right? What has changed since you noticed this? Has anything changed? Might also be something that is a yes and no question, but what has changed? Might come down to nothing, right? But at least you're giving your users a chance, the people that you're supporting, a chance to increase the dialogue, right? All right, what else do we got here? Dan, restate the issue. All right, or the question to verify the understanding. Oh, so what you're saying is X, Y, Z. That also goes back to active listening because it gives the customers that you're helping a chance to say, you know what, they really are listening to me. And at least for that fraction of a second, I can tell, if you got to maintain your positive attitude too, that they care, whether you care or not. All right, and again, I don't want to come across as just being arrogant. I certainly don't mean that because I've been in customer service for a very long time. It's one of the hardest jobs you will ever face because a lot of times you do have to be the bomb diffuser, right? You are the bomb squad because people are already coming in there and it's already a ticking time bomb. Again, don't try to accelerate the clock to the explosion. Don't cut the red wire.
Yeah.
All right, so do not disclose experiences via social media outlets. Oh man, that person was so stupid. You should have seen it today. Let's go post that on Facebook.
Isn't that the whole purpose of the glass door?
That's right.
Isn't it like to say, my company's horrible or it's awesome?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's anonymous stuff. What they mean is like, if you're you and you're logged into Facebook, just like what Wes was talking about, don't talk about the things. The first rule of Fight Club, right?
Yeah.
Do not talk about Fight Club.
Yes, definitely. And that's just from a personal standpoint where it is, again, you can't teach somebody ethics. They either have it or they don't, right? I can't teach you respect. You either have
Actually,
it or
they
you
do
don't.
teach ethics.
Do they teach
Yeah,
ethics?
it's a class.
Ethics
Yeah.
101, that's
Yeah,
right. I
you
guess
can teach ethics.
Okay, yeah. So don't listen to that.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that, again, a lot of it boils down to, again, just respecting the end users and the customers that that are coming in using your service. Now, don't use your customers, but coming in using your service because they're the ones that are paying your salary, and you should be thankful for that. All right, what else do we have here? Set and meet expectations, timelines, communication status with the customer. All right, so what does that mean?
What Charlie Phillips used to say, under promise and over deliver.
Yes,
right?
definitely.
You think it's going to take a week to fix, tell them it's going to take 2.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
Then if you meet a week, they're happy because you fulfilled exactly what you said that you would. If it takes 3 days, they think you're Superman, right? They think you're awesome. Even if you thought, well, it's going to take me 3 days, but I'm going to tell them a week. See how it works? Is if you come in with the time that you told them or under, you're great. But if you take longer than you said it would as the expert, people are going to get frustrated with you. So always under promise and over deliver.
You are held responsible or accountable, I should say, for what you say you know. All right, and the other thing too is you got to keep in mind that this is also protecting you and your company in some aspect too. All right, again, the timeline is very, very important, but the other thing you also have to understand is that when people see somebody that has the knowledge to fix a computer, you get there, they might say, oh, well, I got 4 or 5 other issues that I also need you to look at. Well, that might be something that I'm here to solve this issue now. This is the request that you put in. This is what I'm here to address, right? You don't call a plumber out for a leaking faucet and say, hey, I need you to install this hot water heater at the same time. You're going to have to call my company back and you're going to have to issue another ticket or however it works, right? But again, you set the expectations. This is what I'm here to fix. And hey, we can probably do that. I believe it's in one of the services, or maybe it's not. But call the company up and have them address the issue as whether, I should be fixing this as well. All right, what else do we have? Offer different replacement and repair options. Be very careful with this one. Be very careful with this one. The reason I say that is because if you are helping somebody, be careful that you are helping somebody. I have seen a certain nerdy squad, I won't mention names, that has crossed the bounds in helping people to becoming computer salespeople. All right. If you don't need a $2,000 computer, don't sell a $2,000 computer to somebody because they need a hard drive replaced. All right, does that make sense? Again, offer, and to their credit, the one manager that was there, I will always go back to that certain location, regardless of what the reputations are for the other stores and locations, because I needed a new video card. My video card fried. And I went to buy this, and of course, I need the latest and greatest. So I'm looking at a $250 video card. He looked at me and said, Wes, he didn't call me by name, but he said, what are you going to do with this card? What are you going to do with your computer?
Surf the web.
That's exactly, and that's almost exactly what my answer was. I'm going to surf the web. I'm going to send some emails. He goes, I would love to sell you this card. It's going to look good at the end of the week for me. Yeah. But he said, even with some of the best games that we have in here right now, you probably aren't even going to use 30% of that card when you could buy this one and it's $50. So do you see what I'm saying there? He offered a replacement or repair. It says if applicable, but He offered one that was what I needed for a better price, and he didn't try to get one over on me. So I do have to say, in the comment that I made, there are people out there that, regardless of what the reputation is of a certain company, they do excel, and he was doing exactly what this says to do. All right, so what else? Provide proper documentation on the services provided so people know exactly what you're doing, right? We're not going into, you hear mechanic stories all the time on this that, hey, guess what? You need your flex capacitor changed. What's that? Well, you need a change.
It's
right?
the thing that needs changing.
That's right. That's right. You need the sky hook installed on your tow hitch. So just keep in mind. Again, I know that we're kind of joke because this can kind of be a dry subject to some people, but just keep in mind that again, providing the documentations, the services that you have provided, and then follow up with the customer. Because you might notice that you fixed it. You might know, because you have the know-how, right, that I know I fixed that problem. But if you don't verify with the customer and follow up with the customer that the solution is a solution, you might not have done your job completely. And here's why I say that. Let's say you fix a hard drive. Machine's performing poorly now. It's 2 weeks later. You realize the person's got a virus, but you didn't follow up with them. So guess what? You gave me a horrible hard drive. You said you're going to fix the problem. The problem didn't get any better. No, the problem is you're downloading software that you don't know where it came from, right? Again, not to go Nick Barnes, but you make sure that you follow up with the end user and say, hey, are you happy with what's going on? With the configurations that we have, do we need to take a look at anything? Do you need to bring it back in for a follow-up? So that's always a good thing to have too. All right. Dealing appropriately with customers' confidential and private materials. This is a clean desk policy. All right. You do not leave this information in the open. When you go to somebody's desk, I want you to keep this in mind too. When you go to somebody's desk, maybe you're one of these traveling techs, and you go to somebody's desk, what do? Do you turn the papers over that have confidential information on it? Do you ignore them? Do you put them in the drawer? Or do you ask the end user to secure them? On the exam, whatever the most secure and confidential answer is, I would almost throw money down on it that it would be the right answer. Ask the end user to secure the documents. Obviously, if it says, if any answer makes you laugh, chances are it's the wrong answer. Yeah. Pick the documents up and read it, right? Yeah. Write down what the social
Scan it into EC2.
Exactly. So if it makes you laugh, chances are it's not the right answer. But the most secure and confidential answer is typically the right answer on the exam, and it usually doesn't involve you doing anything other than having the customer secure those documents. All right, last one. I guess that is. I guess it is. Because they talk about the private information that's located on the computer, the desktop, the printer. I have heard war stories. Actually, these are pretty bad stories of people they get in there and they're fixing a computer and all they're doing is a malware diagnostic. But now they've looked through every one of the person's photos.
Yeah, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. That's kind of thing when it comes to your computer. Same policy applies. People are people. They're allowed to their privacy. They're allowed to do whatever they like inside of their own home and inside of their personal computing environment. So just respect that for them. It's not for us to say yay or nay. Now, if you find something illegal, that's a different story. Obviously we've deemed there are illegal things that you could have on your computer. You're obligated to report that. But other than that, just fix the computer and don't worry about the rest of it.
Yeah, definitely. So again, when it comes to the exam, whatever the most secure, confidential answer is typically the right answer. Dan, like you said, I think I think we've got it. Keep in mind communication and professionalism. Always listen to the end user. Don't try to rush them into a situation. Pay attention to what their needs are. Don't downplay it, and certainly don't talk down to them. And when it comes to any kind of support position that you're going to be in, you're going to do a great job.
All right, Wes, this is definitely not the most technical episode that we've had to do for the A+ series, but it is probably one of the most important because at the end of the day, you're not just a person sitting in a cubicle working on computers. You're dealing with people who have computers, and that is something you have to take into account. So be very mindful of that. Look through this list of topics again. Watch this episode a few times. If you're unsure about anything, we'll try to help you out with that. Always ask us questions. We're there for you guys as well. But it looks like we're at the end of our episode, Wes. Thanks for joining us, and we do thank our audience out there for watching. Hopefully you got a lot out of it. That's our aim anyway. But it's time for us to sign off for IT Pro TV. I've been your host, Daniel Lowry.
And I'm Wes Bryan.
And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching. IT Pro TV.